Dr. Elias Trent adjusted the thin, silver-rimmed glasses perched on his nose and stared at the flickering holoscreen. The interstellar embassy on Erendor 7 had always been a place of tense negotiations and quiet diplomacy, but today felt different. The corridors hummed with low, almost imperceptible energy, and the soft luminescence from the walls made shadows dance in strange, shifting patterns. Elias had spent months studying the Elari, an alien species known for their psychic sensitivity, elegance, and strict codes of privacy, but he had never truly understood them. Not until this morning. It began as an accident. While reviewing routine security footage, Elias' eyes caught a glimpse of Leora, the Elari diplomat, in what seemed like a private, unguarded moment. She stood in a secluded chamber, her iridescent skin shimmering faintly as she moved. Elias froze, realizing immediately what he had done. The Elari were not just delicate in their manners, they were precise in their enforcement of privacy. Observing someone like Leora without consent could be catastrophic. His heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at him to shut the holoscreen off, erase the footage, and pretend he had seen nothing. But his fascination overpowered his fear. Leora had always been distant, formal, and enigmatic in meetings, never revealing the slightest trace of her thoughts or emotions. Seeing her like this, alone, unguarded, and natural, was a rare glimpse into a world humans were never meant to witness. A sound made him start. A faint click, almost like a soft chime, echoed from behind him. Slowly he turned. Leora stood in the doorway, her tall figure outlined against the soft glow of the chamber. Her eyes, deep pools of shifting light, focused on him. Elias felt the weight of her gaze like a tangible force pressing against his chest. "You are observing," she said. Her voice was calm, almost melodic, but it carried an authority that left no room for denial. Elias swallowed hard. I didn't mean to," he stammered. "It was an accident." She raised a hand and he stopped mid-sentence. Her eyes held a faint curiosity, not anger. Why? The question was simple, yet it carried the weight of centuries of Elari culture. Elias realized that his explanation needed to be perfect. Hesitantly he said, "I've studied your people for months. I wanted to understand, to learn. I respect you and I respect your privacy. I never meant to intrude." For a long moment she said nothing. Then, to his astonishment, she stepped fully into the chamber. "Come," she commanded softly. "There is something I wish to show you, something humans rarely witness." Elias' mind raced. Was this a trap, some test of loyalty or composure? Yet there was no anger in her movement, only a deliberate grace that drew him forward. He followed cautiously, aware of the thin line between curiosity and disaster. They entered a hidden corridor, its walls alive with soft, pulsating energy that seemed to respond to their movements. Elias' senses tingled. The technology here was beyond anything humans had ever developed. As they walked, he noticed faint symbols etched into the walls, glowing with a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. At the end of the corridor, they entered a chamber unlike any embassy room Elias had ever seen. The walls shimmered with liquid light, forming shifting patterns that seemed to float in the air. Energy conduits ran across the floor and ceiling, humming softly. Leora moved to the center, her hands tracing invisible lines in the air. The patterns reacted, rearranging themselves, forming symbols Elias couldn't decipher. "This," Leora said, turning to him, "is the chamber of reflection. Only diplomats and trusted scholars are allowed inside. Here, one can communicate not only with words but with intention, emotion, and thought." Elias' eyes widened. "You mean telepathy?" he asked, though the word felt inadequate. Leora shook her head. "Not exactly. We sense emotion, intention, and truth. Words are secondary." She extended a hand, motioning him to observe. "Focus, human, feel the patterns." He stepped closer, heart pounding and concentrated. Slowly he began to sense subtle shifts, colors of thought, waves of feeling, faint whispers of intent. It was dizzying, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Every human instinct told him to retreat, but his curiosity drove him forward. As he explored the chamber, he realized the depth of Elari diplomacy. These were not creatures of mere logic or strategy. They navigated the galaxy with empathy as their weapon. Understanding this was more than academic. It was survival, negotiation, and alliance building. Suddenly, a chill ran through the room. The soft hum of energy faltered, the glowing symbols flickered, Elia's stomach dropped. "Something's wrong," he whispered. Leora's eyes narrowed. "Yes, someone is here." They moved toward the entrance cautiously. From a corner of the chamber, a figure emerged, cloaked and moving with unnatural silence. Elia's pulse raced. The intruder was clearly skilled, possibly dangerous, and definitely unauthorized. Leora extended her hands, her bioluminescence brightening, casting long shadows across the chamber. "Do not move rashly," she instructed. "Observe and act with clarity." Elias did as he was told, hiding behind a console while watching the intruder. The figure moved with precision, scanning the chamber, seeking something or someone. He realized with horror that this was not merely a spy. It was a professional operative, trained to bypass security, evade detection, and achieve a goal without warning. Leora moved like a shadow, her presence calm and deliberate. She whispered instructions to him, guiding him to manipulate the chamber's energy. By shifting patterns subtly, they created illusions, hiding their positions and masking their movements. The intruder paused, confused, unable to predict the chamber's strange responses. Elias felt a surge of pride and fear. Humans, he realized, were not naturally empathic like the Elari, but their ingenuity, adaptability, and quick thinking could rival almost any psychic skill when combined with careful observation and courage. As the intruder advanced, Elias remembered a contingency drill he had devised weeks ago for the embassy. Using the chamber's energy conduits, he created a network of barriers, guiding the intruder into a contained space. Leora's powers amplified the effect, creating a seamless trap. The rogue figure froze, struggling against the subtle forces confining them. Finally, with a shared glance, Leora and Elias stepped forward. The intruder, realizing the human and Elari combination was not to be underestimated, ceased all resistance. Elias felt a thrill of triumph. Humanity, with all its imperfections and unpredictability, had succeeded alongside one of the galaxy's most disciplined species. Leora turned to him, her expression unreadable but her voice calm. "You acted with courage and ingenuity. Few humans would have managed this." Elias exhaled, still shaking from adrenaline. I didn't expect." "You expected," she corrected gently, "and that is why you succeeded." Expectation tempered by action is a rare human trait. He nodded, humbled but proud. For the first time, he truly understood the potential of humans, not just in physical strength or technology, but in adaptability, creativity, and courage. As the chamber returned to its normal rhythm, Elias realized that today's events would remain a secret between them. Yet, he also knew that his perception of the Elari, of diplomacy, and of humanity's place in the galaxy had forever changed. But as he followed Leora out of the hidden corridor, a nagging thought lingered. The rogue had been skilled, precise, and aware of the chamber's defenses. Someone else, somewhere in the galaxy, had planned this intrusion. And if this was only the beginning, Elias knew that humans and Leora would face challenges far greater than a single intruder in a secret chamber. He looked at Leora, trying to read her thoughts, but she gave nothing away. Her eyes shimmered faintly, as if hiding both amusement and concern. She spoke finally, her voice calm but deliberate. "You have taken the first step into a larger world, Elias Trent. Prepare yourself. What comes next will test not only skill but trust, and humans are often tested in ways they cannot foresee." Elias swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. He had survived a dangerous moment, learned the depths of Elari empathy, and demonstrated human ingenuity, but he had also glimpsed the vast unknown that lay ahead. And somehow, despite the fear, he felt exhilarated. Humanity had entered a world of wonders, dangers, and possibilities, and today he had taken the first step. The hum of the embassy, once mundane, now felt alive with promise and peril. Every corridor, every chamber, every shadow could hold secrets, allies, or threats. Elias Trent had witnessed a private moment of the Elari and survived. But more importantly, he had learned that human courage and intellect, when combined with trust and careful observation, could stand against even the most alien of challenges. And somewhere deep in the chamber, beyond the safety of the corridors and the glow of the patterns, Elias felt the stirring of something greater, a challenge that would require every ounce of his wits, courage, and humanity. The galaxy had taken notice of him, and he was ready to answer its call. Elias Trent felt a strange mix of excitement and apprehension as he followed Leora through the embassy's labyrinthine corridors. The encounter in the chamber of reflection had left his mind racing, not only with adrenaline but with questions. Who had sent the rogue operative and why? And why now? Despite the danger, a small voice in his mind whispered that this was exactly the kind of challenge humans were meant to face, a chance to prove ingenuity, courage, and resourcefulness in the vast, unpredictable galaxy. Leora moved with her usual calm precision, each step deliberate and silent. Her bioluminescent patterns shimmered faintly in the dim corridors, giving her an almost ethereal glow. Elias kept a careful distance, mindful of his own nervous energy. Even after the successful containment of the intruder, he could feel the lingering tension of the embassy walls. The Elari were always aware, always alert. Humans, by contrast, relied on instinct, improvisation, and sometimes sheer luck. Today, luck had favored him, but luck alone would not be enough in the trials to come. They reached a secure briefing room where the embassy's senior officials were waiting. Holographic maps of interstellar territories floated in the air, dotted with symbols marking alliances, disputed zones, and potential threats. The atmosphere was charged with focus and urgency. The intruder was only the beginning, Leora explained, her voice calm but firm. Someone intended to test our defenses, to observe human and Elari cooperation. We do not yet know who or why, but we cannot ignore it. Trust and preparation must guide our actions. Elias nodded, still trying to steady his racing thoughts. Do you think it's a rival faction? He asked. Someone looking to destabilize human-Elari relations. Leora's gaze was steady. Possibly, but it may also be a probe, an experiment to see how humans respond under pressure. And that human is why your role is crucial. You have observed more than protocol. You have acted. Elias realized that, in this moment, he was no longer just an observer. His ingenuity and quick thinking had drawn attention, both from allies and potential adversaries. That awareness was both empowering and intimidating. Leora gestured toward the holographic maps. We must prepare. Our diplomatic channels are strong, but threats to peace are subtle. They exploit fear, hesitation, and misunderstanding. Humans have a unique strength, adaptability. We will use it. For hours, Elias and Leora worked together, analyzing patterns of potential threats, tracing communications, and predicting possible infiltrations. Elias noticed that while the Elari relied on precision and empathy, humans, himself included, brought creativity, unpredictability, and rapid problem-solving. Where the Elari saw patterns, he saw possibilities. And together, they formed a system far stronger than either could achieve alone. Later, as the embassy's corridors quieted and the other officials retired for rest, Leora led Elias to a balcony overlooking the cityscape of Erendor 7. The twin moons cast silver light over towering spires and cascading energy bridges. Elias felt a sense of awe. Humans had crossed light years, reached distant worlds, and yet here he stood, witnessing wonders that few from Earth could ever imagine. Leora's voice broke the silence. "You did well today, Elias, not because you followed instructions, but because you understood context. You learned, adapted, and acted. That is the essence of human strength." He looked at her, surprised. "But it was dangerous." "I could have failed, or," he shuddered at the thought, "or worse." She smiled faintly, a gesture that somehow conveyed respect rather than condescension. "Failure teaches more than success, but today you succeeded. Remember that." Elias felt a warmth of pride, but also a renewed sense of responsibility. The galaxy was not a forgiving place. Curiosity and courage were necessary, but vigilance and collaboration were equally vital. He resolved, silently, that he would not squander this opportunity. Humans had earned a place here, and he intended to prove it. The next day, the embassy received an encrypted transmission from a distant sector. Leora and Elias decoded it together. The message was indirect, a puzzle of words, symbols, and subtle implications. It pointed to an upcoming diplomatic summit, one where rival factions would converge to negotiate peace or provoke conflict. The rogue operative had been a reconnaissance effort, a prelude to something larger. "We must attend," Leora said. "And we must prepare, not as humans or Ilari, but as allies. Our presence alone will influence outcomes, but we must be ready for manipulation, deception, and tests of resolve." Elias felt the weight of the task. Humans had often been underestimated, especially in the eyes of advanced species. Yet he also felt a quiet thrill. This was humanity's chance to shine, to demonstrate ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt in real time under extreme circumstances. Over the following days, he trained with Leora in the use of Ilari empathic techniques. At first, he struggled to sense patterns and subtle emotional currents, but gradually, guided by her patience, he learned to detect intentions, predict reactions, and navigate complex social dynamics. Where the Ilari could sense truth and emotion, Elias learned to combine that insight with human reasoning and improvisation. The result was an unprecedented synergy. When the day of the summit arrived, Elias felt a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy. Representatives from dozens of star systems gathered in the Grand Hall, a massive structure of crystalline architecture, its walls alive with shifting light and sound. He marveled at the diversity of species, each displaying unique forms of communication, culture, and authority. The summit began with formal introductions, speeches, and subtle diplomatic maneuvers. Rival factions observed each other cautiously, testing boundaries, probing for weakness. Elias and Leora moved through the hall together, their presence a demonstration of unity and coordination. The Ilari noticed every nuance of posture, every micro-expression, while Elias interpreted subtle human and alien cues to predict potential disruptions. Midway through the proceedings, a disturbance erupted. A delegate from a distant sector attempted to manipulate a holographic projection, creating confusion among the attendees. Humans, he realized, were expected to panic or falter, but Elias acted. Using a combination of logical deduction and the empathic cues he had learned from Leora, he countered the interference, exposing the deception without confrontation. The hall's attention shifted, and the would-be disruptor was contained swiftly and without violence. Leora's gaze met his, and he saw the faint glow of approval in her eyes. "You understand balance," she whispered later. "Force is unnecessary when clarity and strategy suffice." The rest of the summit proceeded smoothly, with Elias and Leora coordinating interventions behind the scenes, ensuring that negotiations remained fair, transparent, and productive. By the end, agreements were reached that strengthened alliances, reinforced peace, and demonstrated the value of human participation. As the summit concluded, Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Humans had been tested and had excelled. not through brute strength or advanced technology alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Leora approached him once more. You have proven that humans are capable not only of survival but of influence. Your species has potential far beyond what many expect. Today you have earned respect and trust. Elias nodded, humbled. Thank you, Leora, but I couldn't have done it without your guidance. She smiled, a faint, rare gesture. Collaboration is the key. Strength alone is meaningless without understanding. Humans have both potential and creativity. You have shown that the combination can change outcomes. Returning to the embassy, Elias reflected on the journey. The accidental observation of a private moment had led to a profound series of events, tests of courage, challenges to diplomacy, and opportunities to demonstrate human ingenuity. He realized that curiosity, when tempered by respect and vigilance, was a strength rather than a weakness. In the weeks that followed, Elias continued to work closely with Leora, documenting their experiences and developing new protocols for interstellar cooperation. Human creativity and adaptability became a central point in Elari diplomatic strategy, and Elias' efforts were recognized throughout the sector. He had not only survived a crisis, but had helped define humanity's emerging role on the galactic stage. Yet he remained aware that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Challenges would continue, threats would appear, and tests of ingenuity, courage, and collaboration would recur. But Elias felt ready. Humans had proven themselves resilient, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary achievement when faced with the unknown. And he knew, deep in his heart, that this was only the beginning. As he looked out over Erendor 7's glowing skyline once more, Elias felt a surge of optimism and determination. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had responded with brilliance, courage, and intellect. He had been caught watching the alien diplomat in a private moment. He had faced danger, navigated uncertainty, and acted with ingenuity. And in doing so, he had proven that humans, even in the most alien circumstances, could rise, adapt, and succeed. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, a promise of challenges yet to come, and of human potential, limitless, enduring, and unstoppable.